The 3000 conveyor loader, manufactured by LeeBoy, is used for earth-moving applications and truck loading operations. While moving forward, the loader typically transports material from a graded windrow and loads it into a truck following close behind. Correct operation, setup, servicing, and maintenance are critically important for proper, safe operation of the machine and to prolong its useful life. Before operation, daily inspection procedures must be performed according to the checklist posted on the tilt steering column in the cab. When you perform these procedures, it is important to check that it is clear all around the machine before you start the engine. Begin by checking the engine oil. Open the engine access door located on the rear left-hand side of the machine. Remove the oil dipstick. Wipe it clean. Reinsert it and look at the level indication. The oil must be within the full lines on the dipstick. Next, check the coolant level in the radiator. To access the radiator cap, it is necessary to start the loader and raise up the conveyor. It is important when performing any procedures beneath the conveyor to remove the safety pins from their stored position and insert them into the support arms to make sure the conveyor can't drop. When this has been done, remove the cap and perform a visual check of the coolant level. The coolant must be visible above the full line. Check the air filter gauge located above the filter housing on the right rear of the machine. The one shown here has a red ring that pops in response to pressure differential caused by clogging of the filter. If the red ring is visible, open the filter housing, remove the outer pre-filter and the filter, and then replace the pre-filter. The pre-filter removes most of the contaminants and must be replaced more frequently. Reinstall the filters and replace the filter housing cap. If the loader is not equipped with this type of indicator, look at the optional pressure differential indicator located on the lower panel to the right of the steering wheel. If the red light is illuminated, it is an indication that the filter must be changed. Check the hydraulic oil by looking at the oil indicator sight glass on the hydraulic container. If the level is below the acceptable ranges on the gauge, the oil must be replenished with the proper fluid as specified in the maintenance manual. Now, check the alignment of the conveyor belt by looking to see if it is centered correctly in the conveyor transporter chute. Also, check to see that the belt has the correct tension and that it is not sagging. The belt should be flush with the conveyor frame. Correct alignment of the belt should be checked daily. We'll describe conveyor belt alignment in further detail later in the program. Lubricate all of the grease fittings with a grease gun filled with an approved lubricant. Check the manual for locations of all the grease points on the loader. Open the access door to the battery located on the left rear of the machine and visually check for loose cables or connections. Any loose connections must be tightened and any faulty cables must be replaced. Check all of the hoses on the loader for leakage, breakage, or wear. Check the maintenance manual for locations of the hoses and hose fittings on the machine. Also, open the engine access door and check the throttle cable to make sure it is tight, that it is not broken, and that the nuts on the cable are tight. Check the transmission drive cable to make sure it is not broken and that all the nuts are tight. To operate the loader, check for clear, move the transmission lever and the conveyor lever to neutral. Press the emergency stop button to keep the machine from rolling if it's on an incline. Then, turn the ignition key and run the throttle up to approximately 1500 RPM. The LeeBoy 3000 is equipped with a forward-reverse variable speed hydraulic motor with a 2-speed rear end. A hand lever controls the speed of the pump, which in turn controls the speed in forward or reverse. To slow down or stop the machine, return the lever to neutral. To shut down the loader, throttle down the engine, apply the emergency stop button, return the conveyor lever and the transmission lever to neutral, and turn off the ignition. To make sure the feeder and the moldboard are properly aligned and set up correctly for operation, perform these procedures. For best results, the setup procedure should be performed in the shop on a flat surface. To set up the moldboard, check for clear and start the engine. With the rear of the conveyor all the way up, line up the two indicator levers located on the front side of the feeder using the moldboard control lever. Then place the conveyor lever in the float position. Float the conveyor until the moldboard hits the floor and then pull it out of float. Visually check to see that all 5 cutting edges are approximately flat on the floor surface. If the cutting edges aren't flat, use the levers to flatten them, making sure the pointers are lined up. To set up the feeder, first check the tension of the feeder chains by lifting up the chains one at a time. There should be approximately 1 inch slack. If the chains are too tight or too loose, adjust the feeder shaft bearing end by tightening or loosening as necessary. Do the same on the motor mount and the bearing housing on the other side. Next, check for 2 to 2 1/2 inch distance between the feeder blade paddle and the moldboard transition plate. If the distance is not correct, adjust the feeder support assembly by lifting the conveyor lever up or by using a chain hoist and adjusting to the correct settings. When 2 to 2 1/2 inch distance is achieved, adjust the feeder bearing support to 1/4 inch off of flat plate. Adjust on both sides of the machine. Now lower the blades and then check for correct distance. Redo the adjustment procedures if necessary. To align the conveyor belt, first check the tension of the belt. It should be flush with the conveyor frame and should not sag. Then check the alignment of the belt for centering. If the belt is off to one side, as seen here, the head pulley must be adjusted until the belt is centered. Check to make sure the troughing roller is turning at all times. If the rollers turn intermittently, the belt is too tight. If adjusting the head pulley fails to center the belt, adjust the return rollers until the belt is aligned to center. When the moldboard and feeder are correctly set up, the conveyor belt properly aligned, and all the inspections have been performed, the LeeBoy 3000 loader is ready for field operation. These procedures, properly performed on a regular and timely schedule, will result in long and trouble-free operation in all field conditions.